The Orbital Guard's Origin Story. Episode 22. Landings. It was time to leave Panda Mode. Each departure from Panda Mode involved an extremely high degree of risk. So much so, it was considered an experimental test flight. Risk was assessed using the ratio of known knowns to unknowns. The kind you could feel in your bones, well before your own sensory systems could provide a useful metric. My intuition was on point and reinforced as I gazed upon Drays entering the corridor. He was riding a Magellan 1400. It was upgraded with carbon nanotube wheels and had a full centimeter of intelligent rubber contacting the surface. Drays had not appeared for a hop, or to train, or to attend a knowledge tree, and there was no body language that indicated an invitation to the O. Drays had been sent to grant me Vanguard. Some people referred to this as the three-ring binder reveal. At Cove, the material science lab did not mix with the human studies lab, but there were 3 protocols that applied to both of them. Drays asked me to place my index finger on the purple line and hold it there for exactly 8 seconds. He also said, "Don't make a sound." As I followed his instructions, a large 3-inch, 3-ringed purple binder slid out from the wall to the right of my finger placement. There was a spiritless hum associated with the reveal. The binder was updated every hour, and it had 3 purple tabs inside: top front, middle, and bottom back. My gut told me I was holding the safety data sheets for the entire laboratory. There were 100 pages in total. The very first page had 3 entries. The first in bold entry read, "Keep naval divers warm and dry," followed by the statement, "Every second breath you take comes from the oceans." Each entry had 1/3 of binder space available to highlight breakthrough data and research. Eureka! I found the binder. I experienced such gratitude at that moment with this discovery, I felt like I was eating tamago sushi after a fast food breakfast sandwich. Levitating in public was forbidden. Proprietary knowledge was well nested in the mid-2030s, and the United States Coast Guard was actively tasking in the 2040s. Thankfully, NASA had been working in the 5th dimension for quite some time now. More than a few institutions and agencies had made it possible for me to unearth this knowledge. The legend that was Drays grew with each syllable now. The second in bold entry read, "Don't run to your death. Slow is fast and fast is slow," followed by the statement, "Every second breath you take comes from the oceans." The third bold entry read, "Laughter is the best medicine. Remember to smell the roses," followed by the statement, "Every second breath you take comes from the oceans." Drays was the after party before the Army-Navy game, a gatekeeper on 2 wheels. As I prepared to engage industry in our youth and treasure for the next 8 months, I felt an overwhelming magnetic pull towards the Canadian Arctic. From deep below the sea floor, I began to see the maps change topside. Eons of time passed by like Bartholomew Henry Allen. For some, the 22nd century had begun long ago. In the now, an 8-year-old with an intuitive piece of glass can manifest what they see in their mind's eye within minutes and at no cost. They're able to produce results in minutes that took their parents upwards of 5 days and 40 hours to achieve. Vanguard Protocol meant from this point forward, an intelligent piece of purple fabric, 5 centimeters long and 1 centimeter thick, would be placed on my attire within Panda mode. A shoulder board was added. A new level of communication was now available. No instructions were required. Every departure in Panda mode is a high-risk evaluation. In 8 months, if I survived, I would return to Cove. Your next location was always announced 3 months prior. The construction of Arctic Cove had transitioned to its final phase. Conversations and VIP tours had begun with the Tapirit Kanatami and the National Inuit Youth Council. My departure slot was confirmed by the appearance of anesthesia, who dropped by to apply a small dollop of ointment to the palm of my hand. After rubbing my hands as if I was washing them for 20 seconds, she calmly asked me to count backwards from 10. This was not a local sedation. The skin is our largest organ. Everything placed upon it is absorbed into us. The purpose of the ointment is to gauge your safety, kindness, and readiness levels. The next look from anesthesia is the only feedback you receive. In Panda mode, the individuals who entered these crafts were not referred to as pilots or naval aviators, but rather sentient anchors. At speeds in excess of Mach 30, plasma, the fourth state of matter, was your co-pilot. At those near space-skimming speeds, plasma became a medium. Plasma can self-organize, form filaments, waves, vortices, and structures that maintain shape for surprising lengths of time. This makes plasma feel quasi-biological, especially in astrophysical or fusion scale environments. It would act as a protective shell, capable of absorbing heat, ionizing incoming particles, redirecting radio waves, causing blackouts, and it can also be shaped electromagnetically. It's not alive, but your experience within it can feel biological. Is plasma a life form? Scientifically, no. But at hypersonic speed, it does behave like one. Some occupants have said it feels like being inside a mind made of heat. The ointment I had rubbed into my hands was laced with nanobots that recorded any hallucinations that I had during the hop. It also recorded my oxygen levels and any gravity-induced cognitive deficits. The final word from Dre's involved one critical observation from the last anchor's departure, and he also provided me with its 3 post-debriefing recommendations. The observations read, after re-entry initiation, the plasma envelope generated counter vortices that reduced thermal load by 17%. Craft sensors did not command this. And the recommendations were as follows. Suspend remaining test flights pending full analysis. Investigate hypothesis that sheath behavior constitutes emergent quasi-agency. The last said, restrict anchor's testimony. Unauthorized disclosure risks public misinterpretation. When my eyes raised from reading, the look on my colleague's face spoke volumes. The suspension had been lifted.